Amush. I think somebody typed something in the chat box. Yeah, I think somebody typed something in the chat box speaking about wanting to be the best graduating student in his department. I hope you get to achieve that dream and vision of yours. Okay, any other takers? Anybody else wants to share what they want to achieve before the year runs out?
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Larry. So for this year I started with anyway, and a lot of things we want to achieve this year. But something I've observed this year is a year of values, right? The money is going to where value is, and the values are changing. You understand? At least we now know that lots of AI things everywhere, lots of solutions everywhere. So one thing I would like to achieve before the end of this year is to provide solution to a very unique problem. Provide solution to something very groundbreaking in my field. I'm in finance anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry, for sharing. I hope you get to achieve and you get to accomplish that. Okay, that's all the time I have for now. I would move. And once again, thank you to everybody that shared what they wanted to achieve before this year runs out. Thank you for your insights. All right. For tonight's meeting, we need scribes. So as the meeting, moves forward, as the meeting proceeds forward, I need people to, take down, certain things or certain important things that have been, spoken about or shared during this virtual event. I'm not going to appoint anybody, but if you feel that, if you feel you can do that, you can just, take up the position of volunteer. Thank you. All right.
I'm sorry, Benjamin, I didn't get that, sorry.
I said, can you hear me? Please confirm.
Yes, I can.
Hear me. All right.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, I said for tonight's virtual event, we need scribes. And so if you want to volunteer, want to chip in, to, jot down certain important points or takeaways from this event, you're welcome to do that. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I think I can do that.
All right. So to our new and existing audience, once again, I'd like to thank you. Some of you know who we are as a platform. For some of you that are new, you may not really be aware of what Grow is. So I'll introduce Grow to you once again. Grow means great resources and opportunities for work. We are an online platform that helps to foster and develop the employability skills and competency levels of young graduates in Nigeria. We aim to address the lack of career advice and pathways available for new entrants into the labor markets and young budding entrepreneurs. What Grow essentially is here to do is to position and prepare Nigerian youth to navigate their future, whatever it is that you want to do, and whatever it is that you want to accomplish as a young person in Nigeria. Grow is positioned, and equipped to train young people and to help young people with, transferable skills, which will aid in building their resilience and enterprising spirit to forge new opportunities for themselves. Okay, at Grow, we provide relevant information, career guidance, and tips that inspire young people to develop their potentials. And we also use our unique insights in the labor markets and what graduates do, because we're also a team of young people, where they go and what their motivators are to guide and inspire career choices throughout a student's journey and post-graduation from university. So that essentially and basically is what Grow is about. I work in human resources, and from my conversations and interactions with young people, we've, realized that, young people, a lot of Nigerian graduates, coming into the labor market are, not ready for the world of work. And it is no fault of theirs, to be honest. I think I went through the same thing, faced the same hurdles when I was, leaving the university system, where I didn't have mentors, I didn't have people to, inform me properly about what I was going to expect when I was, when I was joining the labor market. And it's the same problem, the same challenge that a lot of youths face, and that is the reason why Grow was perfect. Okay, so for today's virtual event, we'll be speaking on theme on setting and achieving goals for personal and professional growth in 2022. If you were here during the last virtual event in January, we spoke, or the topic or the theme of the January 2026 event was from local to global. And theme for this year, or for this month rather, will be setting and achieving goals for personal and professional growth in 2026. And the theme and the aim of this session is to provide participants and the audience members with practical frameworks and actionable strategies to define clear personal and professional goals for 2026. Secondly, to align their goals with long-term career aspirations, develop realistic action plans and accountability systems, and to avoid common goal setting pitfalls. I know, like I said earlier, coming to the year, we all have, resolutions. We all have plans. I mean, if you don't have a plan for this year, that's fine, and that's the reason why you're here. I believe that after this session, after this event, you would, be positioned to have a plan and an aim for your year. We're still early. This is February, moving into March, and a lot of people have plans, but moving forward into the year, we realize that we have, shifted or tilted away from those plans that we've had. And this, session is aimed at putting us back on track. Okay. And for tonight's session, we have a special guest of honor. We have a special guest, and I'll be introducing him to you shortly. Our special guest of honor for tonight is Dr. Akin Oke, founder of EasyData Limited. Dr. Akin, if you're in the house, please say hi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Benjamin and the Grow platform crew. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Akin. Welcome, Dr. Akin. Dr. Akin is a mentor, has had over 2 decades of development consulting experience across key management competencies in both the public and private sectors. His consulting career includes roles at the British Council, Cambridge, the Servicom Office, the Presidency, Mott McDonald Limited, ATOS Consulting, and Adam Smith International. Over the past 5 years, he has developed a niche in providing organizational innovation, leadership, and governance support to a wide range of organizations worldwide. Dr. Akin's ability to ask insightful questions, provide constructive feedback, and evoke self-awareness enables him to drive significant leadership development and performance improvement outcomes with clients. Dr. Akin's training techniques incorporate elements from various disciplines, including positive psychology, motivational interviewing, cognitive behavioral coaching, and solution-focused approaches, ensuring a comprehensive and adaptable methodology. So tonight we have a lot packed for you from Dr. Akin because he has over 20 years of experience and he has come fully prepared to impact positively on our lives today. So without further ado, I will yield the floor for Dr. Akin to have his session. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Benjamin. And while you are reading that bio, you make me feel so old now, right? Okay, so I know it's the end of the week, it's the end of the day, and people are probably tired. I just like to get a feel of where you're joining us from. Give me your name and the city. Yeah, let's do that in 2 minutes. All right, so I've been introduced, so I'll save the space. And I do have a slide deck, but I'm not completely sure the time I have is enough for me to do that. So first, I'm going to thank you all at Grow for making this happen. While we were growing up many, many years ago, I won't bore you with that detail, we didn't have things like this where we could connect and try and figure out a way out of this entity called Nigeria. And so these days, I tend to do most of this in an ad hoc manner when I meet with people. First, I'm going to say to you, as a young person, young Nigerian, you are living in the most exciting time in your life. You will not believe it today, but you thank me later. And I say that because even though Nigeria is what you guys think it is, most people, especially what I see with you guys on Twitter, you fail to often realize that where there are problems to solve, there are opportunities. And that's why I like what Larry said. This year is about value, right? How are you going to be that one who creates value going forward? Whether you are still an undergraduate, whether you are just graduated, you're doing NYSC, I always say that this is the best time of your year, of your life, really, because then you can crystallize what you're going to do. Good. I see from Sokoto, from Abuja. Good, good, good. Thanks. So I know my topic is to walk you through how to actualize your goals in 2026. So, and Benjamin has done well to ask how many of us have goals. So, how are you doing with those goals now? It's February already. How are you doing with those goals? The goals you set in January that you thought, wow, let's go for it. So, how are you doing with them? How many of us are still on track? Just give me, oh, Ganiat from London. Yes, welcome. So, tell me, how are the goals going? I need people to say, yeah, it's today, thank you. So, I need people to talk to me, talk to me. The mic is open, please. How is it going? It's February. February ends tomorrow. So, you've got 7 weeks to play with those goals, 8 weeks actually. So, how is it going? How is it going?
Good evening, Mr. Akin. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Noah. I'm from
Mm-hmm.
Abuja. And to answer your question, when Benjamin asked what is my goal, but okay, your question is are we on track? Okay, that's the question,
Yeah.
right?
How you doing with the goal?
Okay,
Yeah.
how am I doing with the goal? I would say I'm on track. I've not achieved the goal yet, obviously, but I'm on track.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the necessary things that will aid me in order to achieve that goal. So I think that's what I
Okay.
can say. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's wonderful because you are one of those outliers in the world, right? People who set goals and have the discipline to stay on track. And as you will see, okay, Adeyinka from Dubai. Great, great to have you. It's an interesting time of the year because the energy is still there, the excitement is still there. So can you see my screen? So I'm trying to share. Okay, good, good. So, like I said, it's an exciting time to want to share this because the year's just started and we're looking to how we're going to execute those goals. I'll share a framework with you because Chris, I have seen Chris online. Chris said to me, no fluff. So I had to go ask, what does it mean, no fluff? So I'm going to give you something that works, but I'm going to even do better than that. I'll give you a story because human beings learn well with stories. And I hope this story teaches you something before we go into the mechanics of the technical thing that I want to share with you. So about 20 years ago now, right? 20 years ago, I was in a mid-career role somewhere in an organization, and I was the head of procurement for the organization at the time. We're a consulting firm and all that. And I got a PV for someone, a consultant that we had at the time. And this PV said, we got to pay this person. And I was looking at it, it's £1,000 per day for her work. £1,000 per day. You know what that means today in today's Naira, right? So I looked at it. I thought it was a mistake. So I went upstairs to meet one of my colleagues in the finance department, and I said, look at this PV. That's the payment voucher. Sorry, for those who don't know. How can we be paying somebody £1,000 a day? He said, oh yeah, that's a rate. I said, what? That's a rate? How did you get to this? And he said to me, well, that's how we've always paid it. Anyway, I had a moment in that time, and I said £1,000 a day was even more than my monthly salary at the time. And so I wonder how a human being can earn £1,000 a day. Now, let me blow your mind. One of the items on the timesheet was breakfast meeting with minister. I almost fell off my chair. How can you spend £1,000 on someone and all they're doing is having breakfast with the minister? So the realization that came to me, and to Larry's point earlier, is you will not be rewarded in the world by how much time you faff around, but how much value you bring to the table. This person's value to the organization and to the world at that time was worth £1,000 for every day she woke up and had hair in her lungs and she could go around. So I sat at my desk downstairs and I was looking at this PV, and what came to my mind was, how can I improve my value beyond what I was doing at this desk? So I did the next logical thing that a reasonable person like myself would do, and very inquisitive and troublesome person. So I went to look for this person's CV. Who is this lady, Nigerian, who works in Nigeria and earns £1,000 a day for having breakfast with the minister? And so when I looked at her CV, I found out she's got some good experience. She's gone to some top schools in the world. She's got some good career moves. So I said, so this is how you improve your value. And so from where I was sitting 20 years ago, I asked myself, how could I improve my value to the world? Because the world will reward you to the degree to which you bring value to the table, not how much time you spend around. You see, a lot of people confuse that. And so when you are setting your goals, that's my point. That's where I'm going, right? When you're setting your goals, how does that connect to the value you want to bring to the world? So I said, well, in the industry that I work, which is a knowledge-based industry, one of the best ways that I could help myself is to probably get a PhD, because then I then earn a license to say something and people want to listen to what I'm saying, all right? And one of the other things I learned from my CV was that in that world where I worked, and I still do work there, by the way, you have to have varied experiences across multiple sectors so that you can engage in different ways. So I'm not telling you fluff, Chris, right? And so I started a journey from that point to today where learning hard things was one of the things that I decided would be my goal. Anything that was hard, anything that people cannot figure out, I have to learn it, and I have to learn it fast, right? And so a day came, fast forward 2012, 2013, I got to that point where I felt I was ready with the experiences. And so every job I took from 2006 was when this Eureka moment came to me. So every job I applied for, every role I took I was intentional. I don't like using that word, by the way, because it's been overflogged by all these motivational speaker people, right? I was intentional about, I use it again, making sure that it aligned with where I want to be. So what's my point to you as a young person today, wherever you are? You've got to decide, where are these goals taking me? You are sitting where you are today is a quality of decisions you made in the last 5-10 years that landed you here. Where will your next set of decisions and goals take you in 10 years' time? So back to my story, 2015, a day came, armed with that PhD, somebody knocked the door and said, oh, we want you on this project. We hope you would be working with us. So, and for Benjamin and Co, they understand this. We want you to sign an exclusive agreement with us that you will not go with another bidder, and we're willing to pay you whatever it is that you ask us. I won't tell you how much they paid me. And so they told me, this is the amount, but for this amount, we do not want you to send your CV or your profile to any other consultant who was bidding for this project. Now, in our world in consulting, development consulting, when you're bidding, you've got to assemble a good of experts that you believe will give you an edge to win the contract with either the USAIDs of this world or the DFIDs of this world, as they were called then. And so the point was, if I became valuable to the point that they didn't even want my CV to go elsewhere, there was a problem. So I sat there, I said, no, I'm going to play with the highest bidder. And so 2 or 3 consulting firms had my name on their bid. The one that won in the end, they had other prior experiences that give them the edge. But somebody called me and said, who are you? Who is this guy? The point I'm making to you is, when you improve your value, it's a product of the goals you set and how dedicated you are to making sure those goals happen. So if you don't hear anything else again from me, that's fine. You will be rewarded to the degree to which you add value to the world. And let me shock you a little bit. Nigeria is not going to get better for young people. Nowhere in the world is good for young people today. Google it. All right, and thank me later. Young people are finding it the hardest to survive in any country of the world, in the West, in the North, in the South. I've lived on 4 continents of the world. And I do have good research to tell you, if you Google it in Britain today, young people are graduating from university and there's nothing to do. If you do the same in America, you do the same in Canada, you do the same in Asia, right? Except for maybe China. So the point I'm making is, when you are talking about setting goals and executing them, do it like your life depends on it, because it does, literally. All right, so enough of my gist. Any questions, any thoughts before I go to the slides thing? Which Chris, by the way, forced me to do. I wasn't planning to do it, but when he mentioned it, I felt that was a brilliant idea. So let me do it.
Sorry, sir.
Go ahead, Noah.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can
sorry,
hear you.
My question is something you said. You mentioned all the countries in the world, but apart from China, why? Is it like due to population, or is there another reason why China is not as hard for young people as other countries?
I say that because China is a bit more intentional about the path they're creating for their young people. I don't know if you follow the news. So they don't allow their young people to play with social media as much as other countries. A lot of other countries are picking that up. That's why Australia is banning anyone 16-year-old below from touching social media. China has created some opportunity for young people to be their creatives who lead them. So I don't have all of the data on China because I've never lived there. However, from some of the data that I've read from what young people are doing, I think they've found a way to make that a bit more livable for their young people. So they've tried to detach their young people from focusing so much on Western approach to education. And you will find that now in Europe, they're also trying to bring people back to, not everybody needs to go to university. We need to trade, you need tradesmen who are skilled. And that's where they're all going because of this shortage, right? So that's by the way. Let's get to our conversation, because I see I am spending so much time on this. I hope it's been useful, but I need to move so that hold the questions. I see Victor, I see Lillian. Please hold it, write it down. We will take it at the end so that I don't violate the rules, so that Chris and Ben will not call me back next time. I don't want them to do that to me. So stay with me, just stay with me, all right? So, okay, they've talked about me. No, I'm not talking about me. There's something called the execution gap, right? That's why you find that most people who try to get things done And so, Noah, you are probably one of those outliers in that 8% who are still committed to their goals beyond February. Okay. And this is real because just life just happens. Things just happen that throw people off balance and they can't keep to their agenda. And so, how do you work with that between your intention and the results you get? And it's human. What we need oftentimes is that willpower to get through to the finish line. And it requires an architecture, which I'm going to share some of the things that are out there that you can work with. That means you have to build a system around how you get things done. So there are a lot of goals that I've set. This year I said I was going to be more focused on my exercise regime. I have failed. Why? Because sometimes I just wake up, I don't feel like doing it. So why would your goals work differently this time? So beyond the SMART, which we all know, you know, what's the acronym again? SMART. Something measurable, achievable, and all that. I'm going to share with you a framework that helps to get things done, helps you to get to the promised land, as it were. So the first thing is to break it down and reverse engineer it, your goal. So say your goal is, I'm going to go with Larry's goal of creating value over something that's unique, right? That's where you want to be in December. The next question will then be, what are things that you will do from now to December that will take you there? How do you then break those down into what you can do weekly, into what you can do daily, into what you can do monthly and quarterly? So say, for instance, you probably want to learn how to build agentic AI systems. And this is just wild. And this is probably one of the things that's been on my mind for a while because I've been fiddling with it. The next question is, what does that capability look like in December when I have got it? Are there courses that I need to take? How long will they take? Are there projects or things that I want to apply this knowledge on? Right? So I come back from December and I say by December, I want to be able to build agentic AI systems, right? Bots and stuff. But I need to learn how agentic AI processes are different from the large language models of ChatGPT. How do I learn the right kind of programming or prompts engineering systems that will allow me to do that? Where will I get it? So that first thing is to do the research. And then when I've done the research, I now find, oh, I need to take a course. Where will I find the time to do that? So maybe if I used to spend 2-3 hours on social media, then I'm going to have to cut off maybe one of those 2 hours, or even cut off social media for 1 or 2 days so that I can create the time to get it done. Where will I be in April, for instance? It then means that by April, maybe I'll have finished all the courses and I'm doing things around portfolios, building different portfolios with agentic AI. So if by April that's not happening, I know something's wrong, right? I know clearly that I've got to figure out a way to get this done. So what does this look like in real life for you? Breaking your big audacious goal into bite sizes, into small chunks, into daily activities, into weekly activities, into monthly, if possible, disciplines. Because this is how you build towards ensuring that that goal happens. Now, there are other things that you can build around it to help you to get there. And we'll get there in the course of this conversation. But the first thing is, look at that goal, define it. Oftentimes I ask young people, oh, what's your goal? When people come to work for me, one of the first questions I ask them is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And then somebody goes on and tells me some very nice things. I say, have you written down those goals? Because the first step is articulating it not just in your head, but writing it down so that now you can follow a discipline to break it into steps. So I'll tell you from personal experience, right? So when I was completing my PhD, one of the things I already had a family, I had young kids. So it was difficult. But then I looked at how many papers I needed to write, how many pages. I figured out how many hours do I need to write a page. This was before ChatGPT, by the way. So I realized that to write a 1,000 word page, I needed not less than 1 hour. So if I was going to write a 10,000 word term paper, it meant that I needed at least 10 quality hours of writing. That is minus the time to research it. So how do I get 10 quality hours every week? The key was to reorganize my day. So when I bring the kids back from school, one of the things I do then is to make sure that they are gone to sleep by 8. From 8 to 10 was 4 hours that I had to sit down, do my research, and write those 2 pages every day to complete it. So until you get to the discipline of breaking those steps, those big goals into small steps, it will be a bit difficult. It's not impossible. I mean, there are people who just sit down and just do whatever they want to do. But if you want to achieve sustainable results, you've got to learn to do that. And so that brings us to some of the mechanics of getting things done. There's something called habit stacking. How many of us have seen the book Atomic Habits? If you haven't seen it, if you don't read it, please go read it, because it tells us that we are a product of our habits, the little things that we build our lives on, because our brains are very lazy. They don't want to think so much, so they try to build a comfort zone around the things you do regularly. And if you don't attach certain behaviors to certain triggers, there's another book that I'm going to mention to you, Nudge, creating opportunity for you to do things easily that ordinarily would require your willpower. I've also read somewhere that one of the reasons we fail is because there's only a certain amount of energy that our minds dedicate to something that requires consistency. And so if you do not make it easy for your mind to get that thing done, this is where habit stacking comes in, then it's difficult for you to stay the course. All right. And part of that is also reducing the friction. So what does that mean? There's certain things that prevent you from getting things done in a methodical way. So for instance, you wake up, you want to do something, and if you are like me, you want to check what's the latest thing by Showore, what's the latest thing by Air Rufai, what's the latest thing by whoever it is that you fancy. If you do not block the time and be intentional about avoiding certain distractions, it will be difficult for you to get the consistency that you need. Okay? And so creating sets of habits that enhance each other, removing friction, things that prevent you from actually going after those small steps that you need. And one third element is creating your design, your environment design, creating opportunity that makes it easy for you to do the things that you want to do when you need to do them. Part of that is you need a desk. Most people, right? To study, to read, to work. How do you organize even that workspace to make it comfortable for you to get the job done, right? What are the things that you normally get up to do? What are the things that would prevent you from focusing in those moments that you are in the space where you want to get things done, right? And so making sure that your environment is conducive for you to get things done the way you want it done is critical to getting results. So those 3 elements form how you build consistency around the goals that you set for yourself. And how you stay focused is by creating an alignment. What will motivate you, especially when you're tired or when you can't see results, is what you call your North Star. That's your guidance, right? Asking yourself, are the skills you are building today, will they be high value in 2030? Or you are just working because you see somebody doing it. So I was talking to a young person the other day who had studied something in the physical sciences, and he was saying, oh, he wants to go into the development space, and that's why came to talk to me. And I said, have you paid attention to what's happening in the development space, the changes that are happening there? Do you think that you can have a career? Some of us have had careers there for 20 years, but would anybody have a career there for another 20 years? Have you asked the question? He said, yeah, but I still see a lot of things. I said, okay, if you're paying attention to the news, and I had this around Davos, the conversations in Davos, one of the things you see is that those who have been funding that our space, and I'm using that example because that's where space I'm familiar with, they have shifted their attention from what they used to spend money on. In fact, somebody said something that I picked. They said, the world, the third world, countries like Nigeria and so on, we have enjoyed this aid because they felt that was the peace dividend. The fact that the world was at peace because there were no wars. And so there was no need for them to build fighter jets and all of those things. But now in the new world order or disorder, there is no space for peace dividend anymore. All of the money that used to fund development aid that we lived on for 20 years in this part of the world, that we built careers around, is now being shifted to building weapons. So what that meant was, as far as that thought leader was saying, the peace dividend that the world enjoyed, so countries like the UK and the rest will say they go 3% for global development, that 3% is what they're using to fund NATO. So if you are today thinking you are building a career in development, as it used to be, then essentially you are building growth in an obsolete direction. I'm sorry. So you also want to ask yourself, what then is the return on my investment? So when you go on to develop yourself, what's the expected return? Not all of us would sit down and grow in the career ladder, in the corporation and all of that. But for those who will, you also want to ask yourself, every hour that I'm investing in personal growth, what would be the return? And from time to time, you want to sit down and ask yourself, what am I learning? And what is it adding to me in terms of naira and kobo, dollars and cents? How does that help me to get to where I want to be in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? So that if it is a skill that is not aligned with that, I drop it. I don't waste time on it. All right. Okay. So quickly, let me give you an execution framework that I've talked about already, but just to break it down. Find one major project that you define for yourself, be whatever it is that's relevant to your world. What are the key priorities that you need to work on? So find 3 every week that drives meaningful work in the direction of your dream, in the direction of your North Star. And then you can build that into your life by developing what you call 5 micro tasks. All right. And so the 1-2-1-3-5 rule is what I want you to look at when you think about how you execute. One major project that's going to consume you and you want to achieve it at the end of the year. What are the 3 core priority areas that you need to figure out? These 3 things must happen. And every week you have to service it with micro tasks, things that you will do that will lead you in the direction of your goal. So when you break your goals down into that, you are executing with discipline. You are executing with focus. And perhaps you find something enjoyable on the way. Maybe you suddenly realize, oh, I could do this without even thinking anymore. And people give you feedback and people give you a raise. Suddenly, it spurs you, right? So instead of having multiple to-do lists all over the place, try and focus on what's the big goal, right? And every month, what is it that I would have achieved to say, yes, I am on track? what are the weekly priorities that I want to focus on in this area, in this area, in this area, that focuses and aligns with my major goal? And what are the tasks that I need to complete daily to get it done? Last year for me, the major project was to make sure that I was posting on LinkedIn once a week for a whole year to build a portfolio, right? And so every week I needed to find a subject. Sometimes I'm racking my brain, what do I do, right? But now it's easy because every day I now carry a jotter. If I go to discuss something and there's an important topic that I pick up that topic, I write it down. So when Sunday night comes and I'm thinking of what to write, I already have a few things that I can choose from. So that way, it's not a new thing, but it's something that keeps going. So the point I'm making to you is you need a system. However, irrespective of how well that system works for you, sometimes you get to a point where you're just tired. You don't know what's going on, right? You probably want to change your method. You probably want to review as you go along. And it will be nice in those moments, the plateau moment, to find an accountability partner, right? Somebody you want to bounce this idea off, somebody who can challenge you. We all have those people in our lives, I hope, that can challenge you to the next level and say, hey, why don't you do it this way? You need mentors, you need coaches, people who have been there are your mentors and who can guide you along the way. And that's why this kind of platform that you've got for yourselves is brilliant. We left university without this kind of thing. We were groping around. I remember vividly going to one of my friend's house, and his father said to us, young men back then, says, shame on Nigeria for allowing you guys to go to school. You've done everything they've asked you to do, but then there's no job, nothing. But you have to take responsibility for your lives. You have to go create something for yourself because that's the way it is. So you need people like that who are going to give you a knock on the head when things are not going the way you are liking it and you want to drop out. And so find people like that because then they help you to shift your focus so that you can go to the next level. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. I hope you caught that. And so as I close this evening, I want you to spend 1 minute. You don't need to share with us, right? Look at the way your life goes Monday to Friday. Where can you find 15 minutes to sit down and audit yourself and your goal? Like every day, right? Every day, 1, 3, 5. This 1, 3, 5 system, how do you make it work for yourself? Every day, find 15 minutes. Because that is one sure way to make sure that you don't forget and you don't get caught up or drifting when life happens or when Nigeria happens, right? So, just so you know that there is help, I'm giving you these 3 books. These 3 books have helped me. I think the first one I read of these books was Execution, the Discipline of Getting Things Done. And then I went to read the 4 Disciplines of Execution. And lately I read Atomic Habits. If you want to be consistent in setting goals and getting things done consistently, these books will help you. They helped me. All right. I'm offering those to you as a gift. If you have read them, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So there's another one, I think the 4 Disciplines of Execution, and it breaks things down to say discipline requires focus, leverage, all right, engagement, and accountability. And that's essentially what I just shared with you in those steps. And of course, I shouldn't end this without letting you know that I've also got a book. I'm also an author, among other things. And I wrote this a couple of years back to help leaders to recognize that the world we live in right now has changed. It's a world that's disrupted and will continue to be disrupted. And the reason being that there is a reorganization of work. And every time there's a reorganization of work, the world is in turmoil. And so the key is, how do you live through that moment and thrive and succeed? So, yeah, I think I've overspent the time that Ben and Chris gave me. So I'm going to stop here. if you have any questions, thoughts, let me know, and I will hopefully be able to answer those. All right. Thank you, people. I hope it was useful. I hope you learned something.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Akin. Thank you so much. Please, can we appreciate Dr. Akin in the chat box? Send emojis, send thumbs ups.
Told you, you are taking AI to take my notes. I will find you an AI.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Akin. Thank you so much for that insightful teaching. I don't know about, the rest of the people in the room, but I learned a lot. And one important thing that I learned, I mean, it has changed my perspective, because you mentioned something about systems outperforming willpower every time. And I have always had, the opinion, well, that if my willpower is strong enough, if I can think, I can move a mountain.
Yeah. You need systems. You need systems.
Exactly. And I think for me, that is my takeaway. That is one of my takeaways from this session. You also mentioned, I mean, when you spoke about you wanting to, work out this year and how you dropped it, I felt ashamed as well, because I had the same.
You are not alone.
But we'll get back on track. So I know there are a few people that have questions for you. If you have questions, by show of hands. Okay, no, I can see you. Because of time, we'll only take 5 questions. All right, Noah, we'll start with you. Please unmute your mic and make it quick. Thanks.
All right. Sorry. First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Akin. And my question is actually quite like easy, because you already talked on it, but I just want to pick out like 2 key points and ask. So the thing about value. So, and as Nigeria as a country, sometimes it's difficult. You understand? Even if you are valuable, it's difficult, because Nigeria is a country whereby it has a lot of young population, and I know that there are people that are trying to always be valuable. So to cut things short, my question is, in a country like Nigeria that we all know about the unemployment issue, the underemployment issue, how is it that a young person can stand out? You understand? I don't know if you get my question or if you need me to explain further.
So what does stand out mean? Educate
me.
Me.
Okay. For instance, I said something about, for instance, now, like, let's say there are a group of people that want to achieve something. You are not going to be the only valuable one there. That's just the truth. There are other people that are going to bring values too. So I'm asking, I'm asking a selfish point of view. How do you stand out from those people, that also want to bring value to a particular project or a particular insight? How do you stand out?
So it's a bit difficult for me to answer that without context. So if for instance,
all right, can I give you context quickly?
Give me.
All right, for instance, now, you mentioned, you talked about your PhD and all, you brought a certain kind of amount of value. That's why those people wanted you on this particular kind of project. They didn't want you to submit your CV anyway. So imagine a situation whereby, like, there are 3 of you like that. Do you understand? Whereby there's Dr. Akin, there's Dr. Ben, there's Dr. Christopher. 3 of you are valuable, are very valuable. But
I like those guys.
You want to stand out. How do you do it? You understand? You're not the only one bringing value.
Oh,
Do you understand?
The long and short answer is your primary preoccupation is first and foremost be that value proposition. Now you then have to define what is your value proposition and make it clear. I agree with you to a large extent. There will be multiple valuable people. However, even in that value, there will still be distinctions. So the next game for you is to create that distinction. So if there are 3 Dr. Akin Okes that can do the same thing, which one does it differently in a way that adds more value or the way that I want? Okay. So these days, if I, for instance, apply for a job or apply for a consultancy and I'm not chosen, I just shrug it off. We are not good fits. There would be somebody who sees the fit, FIT, with my skills. And so that should not bother you. That should not stop you from going for what you know you can achieve as the best. And so for instance, now I'll probably just give you another example. When I started as an independent consultant, one of the things I said was, okay, I need to find a niche, something that is unique to me that I want to own. And I own that space around innovation. Multiple people talk about innovation. Multiple people say all kinds of things about it. Everybody has an idea about what innovation is to them. But then I've got a niche where I say innovation management, and I teach it differently. And if you really want value, come to get my kind of teaching of it. All right? Not everybody would be my customer. I don't even want everybody to be my customer, right? But those ones who will be my customers, I want to serve them the best way I can. That is what should be your goal. Don't worry yourself so much about being one of many. Let me tell you, the higher you go, they say the cooler it becomes, right? The higher you go, the more difficult it is to be that 1, 2, 3 persons of value. And so if you stay consistent over time, it takes time, it takes discipline. Over time, you will be figured out. So don't worry so much about it. Let me now shock you a bit. You worry about Nigeria. The world we live in right now, every single one of us is competing against other people in all over the world, not just Nigeria. You're competing with how many billions are we now in the world? Because of the internet. They can see what you're doing. Everybody can do anything you're doing. Look, I've had situations where I was bidding for an assignment to coach some people here in Nigeria. And while they were still arguing with me, they were talking to a coach in Australia. Until somebody in the office put on a proper cap and said, look, if we are engaging with somebody from Australia who doesn't understand our context, the kind of advisory service is going to give us is not going to work, because what is happening, the way he's going to advise us around is from his view of Australia. And we are both coaches at the same level with ICF, right? So what I need you to do is focus on your value proposition and define it. And you're going to be comfortable with what comes with it. That's the first step. So don't worry so much about many people doing that. Once you create something of value, it will attract its own. I know it sounds cliche, but that is the truth. Yeah, I see a couple of other hands. Victor.
Thank you, Dr. Akin. So, yeah, we'll give the floor to Sumaya. I've seen a hand up a couple of times. And then finally, we have Lillian ask a question. Sumaya, over.
Sumaya,
I'm
waiting to hear you.
Okay, I think we'll take Victor's question now. Victor.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, you said something about value earlier on when you were talking, and that knowing how to add value, you have to have ideas in distinct fields. Like, I would like to know more about what you meant by that. Do you mean we have to pitch into one and every single field? And then about having a system that works, because I had a system that worked for a very, very long time. And then recently, it feels like it's not working anymore because I've spent like the past 2, 3 days and I haven't been able to do anything where I have to work. And I don't know what's your idea on what you can do because I work from home. So like rinse and repeat. And I've achieved I won't say I've achieved my goals. I'm not a millionaire, but like I wanted a stable full-time job, remote and all, and I've achieved that. And then all of a sudden I feel like a certain kind of void. I don't know how to like address that. I don't know if you have ideas on how I can achieve that.
So you saw, thank you, Victor. So you saw in one of the slides there was something around the plateau. Do
Yes,
you
sir.
think that you're at a point where you've achieved that level? You need to set new goals. You need to set new dreams. You need to expand your horizon beyond where you are. That might be one. I'm not close enough to your situation to know, but what you said to me sounded like you've plateaued somehow, but you still need, you know that there are other layers to go to. And so
Yes.
you probably want to spend time to think about what are the new dreams do you need to come up with, what new goals do you need to set to challenge yourself a little bit again. So sometimes you need to step back. I think it was Socrates that said the unexamined life is not worth living. So you probably want to step back now and set new goals, set a higher bar, something that gets you focused and fired up again to go to the next level. So I think that's, from what you said, that's what it's sounding like. What was the second part of the question?
About value. You said you spoke about value.
Okay, I said in my example, so it doesn't have to be like that for everybody. I said in the industry that I worked, right? There are, because of the nature of the work that we do, you needed to know a little bit about quite a lot of things, a lot of fields, right? And so in my context, that was a requirement. It might not be the same in yours. It might just be that at whatever you do, just know how to do it well, right? There are some professions like that. Most of people who are probably in maybe the medical field or something, very narrow, just stay there, but just go deeper into that. So it could be like that. So adding value doesn't necessarily have to be like some of us who have to hop from place to place to build all kinds of experiences to get there. So it's not cast in stone. So yeah, I think did that answer your question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
All right. So I've got Sumaya. I would love to hear Sumaya because she's been on since we started. Okay, we've got Lillian. If we can get Sumaya, let's get Lillian.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So my question is, you spoke about consistency. So how do you stay consistent on days when life is overwhelming? Because as human beings, life can actually get really overwhelming sometimes. So how can one stay consistent?
Okay, so none of this is cast in stone, right? And there are days that, I mean, take for example, we live in Nigeria. NEPA just decides to be NEPA, and for like 4 days, there's no lights. You can't kill yourself now. I can't come and kill myself, right? Just know that those 4 days, you probably want to find creative ways of staying alive or staying alert to your view, to your vision, to your goal. It doesn't mean that you have failed. It just means that just cut yourself some slack. However, don't let it become a habit that takes you away from your goal. Another thing that will happen is there are times that there's no money, right, to get some of these things done. You just stack it and say, okay, when next? This is the next thing on my agenda. So I don't think the goal of this conversation is to say you have to be rigid about this and this is a formula. It's to be applied on human beings, and human beings must be adaptable, right?
Okay,
I hope
thank
I
you
answered
very
your
much.
question.
Yes, sir. But sir, please, one more question. So
Mhm.
what advice would you give to someone who has been consistent, but they just somehow feel stuck?
Okay, so that's not an easy question to answer. The reason being, if you feel stuck, you need to figure out stuck where, over what. A number of questions you need to answer. Are you stuck because where you are is going nowhere? Are you stuck because you don't know what to do? Are you stuck because that's probably the end of that's I'm looking for the right word, that phase of life. So if you're feeling stuck, it comes back to, I think, what Noah we were discussing earlier about, or was it Victor, about plateau. It happens. And when it does, the next question is you need to find, like I said, mentors or coaches that can help you to ask better questions of where you are and why you are stuck. It happens to all of us from time to time. They just feel, really, this is stagnant, it's not going anywhere, right? And so the next thing is, what kind of questions are you asking of that moment in time in your life? Are you asking the right questions? Are you looking in the right direction? Probably you want to check. So let me give you an example quickly. I know the time is up, but I'll give you an example. So years ago, I graduated with a degree in zoology. That was my first degree. And I came out of the university after 4 years and asked myself, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? There are very limited options there. Option one, become a lecturer, go all the way, get a PhD, and teach in some Nigerian university somewhere, or go abroad, teach somewhere. Option two, go find a job in the Federal Ministry of Enjoyment and whatever, and just climb the ladder. And I looked at those two options that were before me, and I said, no, I didn't want any of these options because I wanted to enjoy the fullness of what options are out there in life. And by divine providence, and this is, again, if you're stuck, you could always pray. We are a very religious culture, Islam, Christianity. Pray and ask God for direction. What exactly do you need me to do on this planet? Because that's where liberation often comes from. When you are stuck, you might be where, you might just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then you want to ask yourself, how am I going to get out of there? That's one thing that's worked for me. And I'm not ashamed to share that. You can always pray. And there is divine intervention that can get you out of that. So
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
well,
Lillian. Sumaya, are you there? Are you sleeping?
Yes, yes. Good evening, everyone. Please, can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
yes, we can finally hear you from Sokoto.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Akin. Like, you really gave me all of the ingredients I needed. Like, the execution gap, most especially. I would say I'm not someone that is overwhelmed, like, and then I have control of my day. But you see, the 1-3-5 rule, it was like something I think I've been missing out. So thank you very much. My question is a bit unrelated, but I'm still going to ask it anyway because I believe you would have an answer to it. My question is about sleep. Um, I was able to understand that 7 hours of sleep was very important, and I started practicing it. And I would say it was a really good thing for me. I was able to stay active most day, do most of the things I wanted. And then I attended this program, and then the speaker was like, "He just sleep 4 hours a day because he feels like 7 hours a day is too much. Sleeping 7 hours a day was too much for him, and with that 4 hours he's still fine and he's able to get things done. So I was like, yes, I could get more things done and reduce my sleeping to 4 to 5 hours. When I tried that, it was kind of working. To like 1 or 2 weeks later, I found out that I did not have this clear head anymore. So, but I would like to hear your own opinion. What do you have to say about sleep, and what do you have to say about getting 4 hours of sleep and being able to do more things? That's my question.
You want my honest answer, or you want me to give you a political answer?
I want your honest answer, sir.
Stop sweating that. So, we are different human beings, right? And we are constituted differently. Okay? And so we need sleep. Science tells us that. You remember I told you my first degree is in zoology, right? You need sleep. However, not all of us need 7 hours. In fact, some of us cannot sleep 7 hours at a go. And science has also proven that some people don't need up to 7 hours. So if that guy or girl, whoever is, and in fact, they call it a name, it's called the Thatcher gene. You can Google it. There are people who have that gene, they don't need 7 hours to function. Some of us are not built to do less than 7 hours, because otherwise we will not have all of the regeneration, rejuvenation that needs to happen in our body. Sleep is part of how you maintain your body, your mind. So you do not have to be rigid about it. Figure out what works for you. Some people will tell you I'm a morning person. Some people will tell you I'm a midnight person. When I was in university and up till now, if I dare read overnight for an exam, it's a guarantee to fail. There are no two ways about it. All right. And so what I figured out was, from day one, when they start to teach us in class, I start to read, and I read up to 11, 12 midnight. I go get my sleep. Exam night is tomorrow. I sleep at 10 p.m. because I dare not sleep, do all this, go night marathon. I'll just be fidgeting like this in the morning. I have done it because everybody is doing it. You go and sleep in the class, you'll be reading, be chewing cola nut, drinking Coke. I will just lose it. And I failed 2 important exams because of that before I learned my lesson. So, my point, do what works for your body, own your body, own the energy that you get from it. You need sleep, yes. Do you need up to 7 hours? Depends on you. Some people do not, they can't even get 7 hours. And I've told you, science calls it, those people have the Thatcher gene. Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of the UK. She was noted as having one of the least hours of sleep. Google it, you'll find it. It's true. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, who else is there so that we can go to sleep? Wesley, oh good.
I think that's all the time we have for this evening. Thank you, Dr. Akin.
Cold
very
malt.
grateful.
Who wants to give me cold malt? Unfortunately, I try not to drink malt these days. So, but if you are giving me, I'll take it.
All right. On a final note, on a lighter note, I would like to borrow Sumaya's words. Dr. Akin has given us the ingredients, so let us go to the kitchen and start cooking. Okay. All right. So we've come to the end of today's event. I'd like to thank everybody that participated. Thank you so much. To further help us, boost what we've learned today, you can go to our website, which would be shared in the chat box, to download and use our 2026 personal development tracker. This will help you track your development goals for 2026 and beyond. Okay? And we also need your feedback. If you think there are things we can improve on as a platform, if you think there are things that we could build upon as a platform, kindly fill the form, which would also be shared in the chat box, and would read them and look at them and then implement them. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have for today. We thank each and every one of you for coming and attending this session. See you guys next month. We'll be organizing another virtual event, and we hope to see you guys there. From me and the team, thank you so much. Good night.
Night.